יעלו שדי בכל שבו יעלו שדי איי 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 יעלו שדי בכל שבו יעלו שדי איי 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 אז ירננו כל עצי יער 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 יעלו שדי בכל שבו יעלו שדי איי 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 יעלו שדי בכל שבו יעלו שדי איי 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 אז ירננו כל עצי יער 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 יעלו שדי בכל שבו יעלו שדי איי 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 יעלו שדי בכל שבו יעלו שדי איי 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 איי
Let the fields be jubilant and everything in them. Let all the trees of the forest sing for joy. And we invite you this morning to join us in singing for joy and to feel the mantle of community around your shoulders, whether it's a physical talit or just a sense of coming together as a community this morning, to join in prayer, to join in song, and to just take a few moments to nurture your soul. So we recite our blessing for wearing the talit. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit.
And we hope that you're going to be singing along with us. We welcome back Joe and Ruth into the sanctuary this morning to sing with us. But please, we can hear all of you and we can feel all of you. Please send all of your wonderful messages as well and communicate with us throughout the service. When we're all in the sanctuary together, I don't know that we really go in for heckling apart from Dennis Leon. But heckle all you want with all of your messages because it really helps us and creates a wonderful atmosphere for all of us.
Mishnotecha Yisrael, v'hanim berov chastecha, ahavo ve'etecha, eshtachave, elhecha kodshecha, ve'yiratecha, Kodshecha ve'yiratecha Adonai ahavti me'om beitecha u'makom mishkan kavodecha v'ani eshtachave be'evracha Adonai Otzi, Bani
a mystery surrounds my life. What came before it and what lies beyond it are shrouded in darkness. But in the darkness is your presence, and in the mystery your love. No mind can grasp the splendor of your being. No tongue express the majesty of your works. Yet there are times when we sense a reality that is beyond our mortal sight. May the Sabbath be such a time for us. Help us to hear your voice, to find your image in our souls, and to be at peace.
Neshama shenatata bi Elohai Neshama shenatata bi Tehorahi Elohai Neshama shenatata bi Elohai Neshama shenatata bi Tehorahi
My God, the soul that you have given me is pure. You created it, formed it, and breathed it into me, and you sustain it within me. So long as there is a soul within me, I will give thanks to you, Eternal One, my God and God of my ancestors, Sovereign of all worlds, Guide of every human soul. We praise you, O God, in whose hands are the souls of all the living, and the spirits of all flesh.
We continue. Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam. Baruch Hu. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Hamehulal b'fi amo. Meshubach umfo'ah b'lshon chasidav v'avadav. B'shvachot u'vizmirot. Negadeh lecha v'namlichecha. Malkeinu yachid chei ha'olamim. Baruch Atah Adonai melech mehulal batish bachot. To you the stars of morning sing. From you their radiance bright did spring. And steadfast in their vigils day and night, your angels, flooded with fervour, ring your praise. They teach the holy ones to bring into your house the breath of early light.
Anim snera v'shirim erok, ki elecha nafshi taharok. Nafshi chimda b'tzel yadecha, ledat kol rasodecha. Midei dabri b'vodecha, homei libi el dodecha. Yerov nasihi alecha, ki nafshi tarok elecha.
Yishtabach shimcha la'ad malkeinu, ha'el ha'melech ha'gadol v'ha'kadosh b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Ki lecha na'er Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu. Shir u'shvacha, Hallel v'zimra, brachot v'hodaot, me'ata ve'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai,
Melech habocher b'shirei zimra.
Nai, 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 nai.
together. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe, Maker of light and Creator of darkness, Author of peace and Creator of all things. In your mercy you give light to the earth and all who live on it, and in your goodness you renew creation continually, day by day. How manifold are your works, O God! With wisdom have you made them all.
The world is full of your creations. Your handiwork proclaims your praise. The radiant stars bear witness to your glory. We praise you, O God, Creator of light.
אהבה רבה אהבתנו, אדוני אלוהינו. חמלה גדולה ותרחמת עלינו. אבינו מלכנו, בעבור אבותינו שבטחו בך, ותלמדם חוקי חיים, כן תכוננו ותלמדנו. ותן בליבנו להבין ולהשכיל, לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמוע ולעשות ולקיים את כל דברי תורתך באהבה. והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך. כיוונו בחרת ליחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל, באהבה.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. 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 ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לעוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Good and beautiful and true, sound, established and enduring are these words now and forever. True it is, Eternal One, that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer, as you were the God and Redeemer of our ancestors. You are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We have known you always as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly you are first and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song. Mi hamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha Hallel,
Nora,
Nora,
Tehilot,
Tehilot,
Osef,
Osephelel.
A new song the redeemed sang to your name at the shore of the sea. With one accord they gave thanks and proclaimed your sovereignty.
Adonai Imlo,
Leolam vaed, zu Israel,
Kuma
Bezrat Israel,
Koleinu Adonai, Tzevaot Shemo, Kadosh Israel, Baruch atah Adonai, Kol Israel, Kol Israel, Israel.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufiagi tefilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufiagi tefilatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth shall declare your praise. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth shall declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Mashiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Machayei metim atah Rab le'Hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hageshem, Mazriach hashemesh u'morid hatal.
Mahakel Chaim, B'chesed, Machayei metim, B'rachamim rabim, Somef noflim, Rofeh holim, Umatir asurim, Umakayem emenato lishanei afar. Mi hamocha bal gevurot umidomela melech memit umachayeh umasmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah lahachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Machayei hametim. Nekadesh et shimcha be'olam, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאיך. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot.
במקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה.
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושפחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. המקדשי שביעי, המקדשי שביעי, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו מטובך. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו, והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו. חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה בראשית.
And let us continue together. Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments, and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts that we may serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath.
רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל, ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני, שאותך לבדך, ביראה נעבוד.
מודים אנחנו לך, שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, לעולם ועד. צור חיינו, מגן אישנו, אתה הוא לדור ודור. נודה לך ונספר תהילתך, על חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך, שבכל עת ערב ובוקר וצהריים. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך, ולך נאה להודות.
שלום, טובה וברכה, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, שים שלום, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, שים שלום, טובה וברכה. חן וחסד, חן וחסד ורחמים. חן וחסד, חן וחסד ורחמים, ורחמים. שים שלום, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, שים שלום, טובה וברכה.
Baruch atah Adonai, oseh hashalom.
Say shalom bimromav. Huya say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol bnei Adam. Ve'imru. Say shalom bimromav. Huya say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol bnei Adam. Ve'imru.
Spot the rabbi with 2 birthdays in the household this Shabbat. Very much enjoying this Shabbat of incredible singing and the incredible atmosphere that's created by all of our congregation. It's wonderful to have a choir of all parts out there. It's wonderful to have a congregation singing, hopefully dancing now as well with us, as we now move on to our Torah service.
There is none like you, Eternal One, among the gods people worship, and there are no deeds like yours. Your sovereignty is everlasting, your reign endures from age to age.
Ein kamacha ve'olim Adonai, ve'ein kamasecha. Malchutcha malchut, kol olamim u'memshaltecha b'chol rovado. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch, leolam va'ed.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
גדלו לאדוני איתי ונרום עמו שמו יחדיו.
לך אדוני הגדולה, והגבורה והתפארת, והנצח וההוד, כי הוד בשמיים ובארץ, לך אדוני הממלכה, והמתנשא לכל לראש.
And so we turn to our Torah reading this week, which comes from the book of Numbers, chapter 27. We could have chosen any number of parts within here, which were pretty grotty, many which don't quite attune into a liberal sensibility. But this part certainly does and is really rather universal. And we chose it especially for all of those studying Hebrew with us so that you can practice your feminine plural conjugations. We're reading about the daughters of Zelophehad.
Let us say the blessing together. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bacha banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Vatikravna benot Zelophehad, ben Chefer, ben Gilad, ben Machir, ben Manasseh, lemishpachat Manasseh, ben Yosef. And the daughters of Zelophehad, who was the son of Chefer, the son of Gilad, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the Manassite tribe. Manasseh was the son of Joseph. Ve'ele shemot benotav, and these were his daughters' names. Machlah, Noah, V'hogla, Umilka, V'tirza. And we were having a conversation in our Parashat HaShavua class about how many daughters were named after these 5 women. Noah, well, pretty obviously, few Milkas, quite a few Tirzas, but not so many Machlas and Hoglas. So if you are a Machla or a Hogla, please do let us know, because we'd like you to be counted amongst all of our daughters. ותעמודנה לפני משה ולפני אלעזר הכהן ולפני הנשיאים וכל העדה פתח אוכל מועד. And their names are sandwiched in between a load of men. Firstly, all the men that they come from, their father and all the tribes before their male ancestry. And then they come and stand before all of the men of the people, Moses and Aaron, all the chieftains of the people, all of everybody assembled at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And because Hebrew is gendered, we don't get to know whether there were other women present as well. Le'emor, and they spoke up. Avinu met bamidbar. Our father died in the wilderness. V'hu lo haya b'toch ha'eda hanoadim al Adonai ba'adat Korach. And he was not one of the rebels that rose up against God, one of Korach's band. Ki v'cheto met. He died purely for his own sins. Uvanim lo hayulo. But he had no sons. Lama yigara shem avinu mitoch mishpachto, ki ein lo ben. Why should our father's name be erased from his clan just because he didn't have a son? Tna lanu achuzah b'toch achei avinu. Give us a holding amongst all of our brothers, our father's brothers. Vaykrav Moshe et mishpatan lifnei Adonai. And Moses doesn't know the ruling on this one. And so he takes the question before God. And I'm not sure that you'll be able to see this, but there is, or you may be able to see it actually, that there is a large final nun at the end of Mishpatan. And so, Steve Herman, if you're watching today and with us, please could you give us the ruling on why, if we know, there is an enlarged nun at the end of Mishpatan? Maybe it's to emphasize that it was women here who were asking the question, I don't know. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe le'emor. And God responded and answered Moses, saying, Cain benot Zelophehad dovrot. What the daughters of Zelophehad have claimed is just. Naton titein lachem achuzat nachala betoch achei avihem, vavarta et nachalat avihen lehen. You shall provide an inheritance from amongst their father's brothers, and you shall transfer this holding from their father to them. Ve'el b'nei Yisrael tedaber le'emor, and further, you should say to all of the Israelites, Ish ki yamut then ein lo, if there is somebody who dies and he does not have a son, va'vartem et nechalato levito, then the inheritance should pass on to his daughter. Ve'im ein lo bat, but if there isn't a daughter, natatem et nechalato la'achiv, then it should pass on to his brothers. Ve'im ein lo achim, and if there are no brothers, natatem et nechalato la'achei aviv, then it should pass on to his father's brothers. Ve'im ein achim la'aviv, and if there aren't any brothers, we're digging deep now, aren't we? If there aren't any brothers of his father, natatem et nechalato lishi'ero hakarov elav, then it should pass on to the nearest relative, mishpachto, from his clan, v'yarash ota, and so he should inherit it, v'yita livnei Yisrael, amongst the Israelites, lechukat mishpat, kasher tiva Adonai et Moshe, and this is the ruling which the Eternal One commanded to Moses.
And so we say the blessing together for after our Torah reading. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato.
It's always difficult to know exactly why certain letters are written in larger than in smaller, because we know that it is the case, but nobody actually wrote down, I decided to make this letter larger because. But I think in this case, actually, it's quite simply in order to ensure that we don't get confused, that we don't think it's a vav, which looks at the end quite similar, and then if it had been mishpator, it would indicate that it was Moses' matter rather than the matter of the daughters of Zelophehad. And I think what the text is trying to make clear is Moses brings their matter to God rather than simply asking for guidance for what he's concerned about. We're going to turn to our Haftarah reading. You'll see the obvious connection between the Torah portion and our Haftarah this morning. But before we do, let's start with the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bacha b'nvi'im tovim, v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'Torah, uv'Moshe avdo, uv'Yisrael amo, uv'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
And this is the portion that fell by lot to the tribe of Manasseh, for he was Joseph's firstborn. Since Machir, the firstborn of Manasseh, and the father of Gilead, was a valiant warrior, Gilead and Bashan were assigned to him. And now assignments were made to the remaining Manassites by their clans. The descendants of Abiezer, Chelek, Azriel, Shechem, Hefer, and Shmidah. Those were the male descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph, by their clans. Now Zelophehad, son of Hefer, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, had no sons but only daughters. The names of his daughters were Machla, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah. They appeared before the priest Eleazar, Joshua, son of Nun, and the chieftains, saying, The Eternal One commanded Moses to grant us a portion among our male kinsmen. So in accordance with the instructions of God, they were granted a portion among their father's kinsmen. 10 districts fell to Manasseh, apart from the lands of Gilead and Bashan, which are across the Jordan. Manasseh's daughters inherited a portion in these together with his sons, while the land of Gilead was assigned to the rest of Manasseh's descendants. The boundary of Manasseh ran from Asher to Michmetat, which lies near Shechem. The boundary continued to the right, towards the inhabitants of Ein Tappuach. The region of Tappuach belonged to Manasseh, but Tappuach on the border of Manasseh belonged to the Ephraimites. Then the boundary descended to the Wadi Kana. Those towns to the south of the Wadi belonged to Ephraim as an enclave among the towns of Manasseh. The boundary of Manasseh lay north of the Wadi and ran on to the sea. What lay to the south belonged to Ephraim, and what lay to the north belonged to Manasseh, with the sea at its boundary. This territory was contiguous with Asher on the north and with Issachar on the east. And so we see in the book of Joshua that indeed the daughters of Zelophehad do inherit their rightful portion.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, hamdaber umkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek. For the Torah, for the divine service, for the prophets, and for this Sabbath day which you, Eternal One, our God, have given us for holiness and rest, for honor and beauty. For all these we offer thanks. May your name be blessed by all the living forever. Blessed are you, Eternal One. You make the Sabbath holy.
Eternal God, whose dominion is everlasting, we ask you to bless our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth, and to guide the government of this country. Help us to be good citizens, working together for justice and peace at home and abroad. Bless this holy community and all holy communities, and support the life and work of all who labor for their welfare.
We ask you to listen to our prayers and look on us kindly, supporting those who are troubled, consoling the bereaved, sending relief to those in pain or anxiety. As you blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and our mothers Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless our own congregation, all other congregations gathered in prayer, and everyone who responds to the needs of the community.
Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask your blessing for the state of Israel and all who live there. Give wisdom and understanding to its leaders, and friendship and compassion to the people, so that there may be lasting peace on its borders and in its homes. Soon may your promise be fulfilled, for Torah shall come out of Zion and the word of God from Jerusalem. May such be the divine will, and let us say,
Amen. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado.
Odo al eretz v'shamayim, ve'arem keren le'amo, tehila lechol hasidav, livnei Yisrael amkaravo.
Torah, I give it to you. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace.
Ki lykak tov natati lachem Torati ho ta'azavu Etzaim hilem hazikim ba V'tomchecha me'usha Dorechenom V'chonativateha Shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha V'nashuva Hadesh Yameinu Kekedem Hadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
I'm probably not the only one who has spent more time than normal thinking about what really matters. I guess being stuck at home facing a global pandemic does that to a lot of us. We become hyper-aware of the many things that we have just taken for granted and realize just how much their absence pains us, or in some cases, just how little we miss those things. This week, I got stuck in traffic for the first time in over 3 months. And it was a strange feeling of annoyance that I was going to run late, and a sense of relief that maybe life can become normal again. And so, as I was sitting in my car crawling along the Uxbridge Road, my mind wandered, prompting me to ask what we might say in the future about this moment in time. Will it have been a juncture or just a bump in the road? This week, we mark 2 significant anniversaries, the 15th anniversary of the 7/7 bombings and the 25th anniversary of the genocide at Srebrenica, which we marked at last night's Kabbalat Shabbat service. And while I wish that these significant events in our recent history had been true junctures for us to address some of the injustices in this world, it seems that history has turned them into mere bumps. We have still not addressed why people born in our country become radicalized, be it through right-wing extremism or Islamist fundamentalism. And while the genocide in Srebrenica and the fact that the world looked on as it happened horrified us, we continue to look on as genocides are perpetrated right in front of our eyes. So what should we do to ensure that our society can emerge from this pandemic along a new and better path for humanity? I think we can learn an important lesson from the story that we've just read in our Torah portion. The daughters of Zelophehad live in a society where women are excluded from the rights of inheritance. This injustice existed for all women in biblical society, but is pronounced in this specific case because of the absence of brothers. What is particularly interesting for us today is that Machla, Noah, Chogla, Milka, and Tirza's brave and bold willingness to stand up for themselves didn't just bring about justice for them. These 5 women were able to change the system. And the Eternal One said to Moses, "The plea of Zelophehad's daughters is just. You should give them a hereditary holding among their father's kinsmen. Transfer their father's share to them. Further, speak to the Israelite people as follows. If a man dies without leaving a son, You shall transfer his property to his daughter. I think we can learn from this story that in order for an event to be a true juncture rather than a bump in the road, we have to use the opportunity to make a fundamental change. In the case of the daughters of Zelophehad, the change required was quite obvious. But what is the change that we should be working toward? I believe that at this moment, when the virus has disrupted our well-established education systems, as well as made each of us question how we set our priorities, we must embrace the opportunity to create a real shift in what virtues are most important to us in society. In 2015, the New York Times columnist David Brooks published an op-ed entitled The Moral Bucket List, in which he highlights two sets of virtues, the resume virtues and the eulogy virtues. The resume virtues are the skills you bring to the marketplace. The eulogy virtues are the ones that are talked about at your funeral, whether you were kind, brave, honest, or faithful. Were you capable of deep love? Brooks points out that while we all know that eulogy virtues are more important than the resume ones, our culture and our educational systems spend more time teaching the skills and strategies you need for career success than the qualities you need to radiate your inner light. Many of us are clearer on how to build an external career than on how to build inner character. How would our world be different if instead of focusing on teaching virtues that give you points on a CV, we would prioritize rewarding a focus on eulogy virtues? How would our society be different if instead of measuring success by the rungs climbed on a career ladder, we celebrated generosity of spirit and depth of character? As Sarah Hurwitz, Michelle Obama's former speechwriter, writes in her book, Here All Along, Judaism is all over eulogy virtues. Judaism tends to focus less on rights and freedoms and more on obligations, and it outlines a great many affirmative duties beyond tending to our own life, liberty, and happiness. Hurwitz highlights two ethical themes that weave their way through Jewish law: self-restraint and self-transcendence. She asks us to imagine what our lives would look like if we applied the same discipline that we are willing to practice when it comes to dieting or following a career path, to honing our character. Do whatever feels good is not a Jewish approach. Rather, Jewish law puts a great many limits on how we satisfy our appetites for things like power, money, sex, and food. And Judaism is passionately concerned with how we treat others. Do we take their needs and feelings into account? Do we notice their suffering? Do we respond? So what would society look like if we didn't just practice self-restraint to further our fitness or work goals, but combined it with a sense of self-transcendence and committed ourselves to a kind of character cross-training throughout our lives? I do believe that we are truly standing at a juncture right now. We can continue to follow along our worn path, and in a few years' time, look back at this period merely as a painful bump in the road. Or we can decide to change path, to embrace the juncture and creating lasting change for the future. We can create a society where living by ethical themes is valued more than our productivity in the marketplace. We have the power to refocus our education system, to teach us to hone our eulogy virtues rather than work only on polishing our CV. As David Brooks put it, wonderful people are made, not born. If we can create systems to measure career success, we can and should create systems to help each one of us tick off our own moral bucket list, to support each person through the experiences that one should have on the way toward the richest possible inner life. It is in our hand to create a world that helps each person to nurture their inner light. Together, we can change the path that we pursue. As Margaret Mead put it, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Shabbat Shalom.
Olam chesed yibane, yalai, lalai, yalalai. Olam chesed yibane, yalalai, 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 lalai, yalalai.
So we turn to our concluding prayers.
Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, l'tekilu l'yotze bereshit, asher sam chelkeinu li'ached et shemo, v'gohor aleinu l'hamlich malchuto, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נושא שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומי, הוא אלוהינו אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתינו. And it has been said, the eternal God shall rule over all the earth. On that day the eternal God shall be one and known to be one.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
The growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts, and that things are not so ill with you and me as they might have been is half owing to the number who lived faithfully a hidden life and rest in unvisited tombs. Even when they are gone, the departed are with us. They inspire us to live as in their higher moments they themselves sought to live. We remember them now. They remain in our hearts. They are a continual blessing. On this Shabbat, we think of the 52 victims of the 7/7 bombings and the 8,372 men who were murdered in Srebrenica. And we also think of those in our community whose yahrzeit falls at this time: Albert Michael de Gass, father of Susan Morris, Morris Max Blind, the brother of Renee Simmons, Sarah Wolfe, the mother of Alan, Selwyn Derek Pachter, the husband of Mavis and father of Talia. And we regret to announce the recent death of Rabbi Willie Wolfe and the Bristol congregation member Rebecca Lissick. Zichronam livracha. May their memory continue as a source of blessing as we recite together. Yit gadal vit kadash shemei rabbah. Balma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chai echon v'yom echon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. B'galau v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevorach le'alam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'al v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithada v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran b'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'al kol b'nei Adam. V'imru. Amen.
May great peace descend from heaven and abundant life be granted to us, to all Israel, to all peoples, and to all those who mourn. Let us say, Amen.
I'm going to conclude with Adon Olam in a moment.
But before,
with a few announcements.
yeah, because I raced through last night and I was going to leave them all out.
We almost forgot the announcement. But we do have some fabulous events coming up. Actually, both of them this Wednesday evening. You can watch just where you're watching right now. So whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or on Twitter, you can just watch there. We have at 6:30 p.m. and if you can't make it for 6:30 p.m., you can always catch it on Catch Up. A fabulous session put together by our member Celia Gould on African asylum seekers in Israel. We have a wonderful lineup. We'll hear first-hand testimony from a refugee, but also have lots of wonderful representatives from various organizations that work with asylum seekers in Israel. So it'll be a wonderful hour, very informative, I'm sure. And then at 7:30, if you haven't yet had a chance to hear about our new synagogue strategy and vision, or if you already have had a chance but would like to hear some more again, then do join us. We'll be doing our strategy presentation again, followed by a presentation by Andrew Keane, who will be talking about the work he's done on From Program to Platform, which is one of the things that has informed our strategy. He's a wonderful, charismatic speaker. So do join us for that. Those sessions, if you want to ask questions, you can ask them also on Facebook and YouTube again. Or if you do want to join us on Zoom, if you get our weekly update, you should have had the Zoom details for that, but you can just watch online as well. And any other announcements? Havdalah tonight at 7 p.m.
Adon Olam Hashem Allah, Ayah bye bye. B'terem kol yetzir nivra, Ayah bye bye. Li'et nasa v'chefsa kol, Ayah bye bye. Azai melech shemo nikra. Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol yetzir nivra, Le'et nasa v'chefsa kol, Azai melech shemo nikra. V'acharei kichlot hakol, Ayah bye bye. Leva'ado yimloch nora, Ayah bye bye. V'hu haya, v'hu hoveh, Ayah bye bye. V'hu Tifara.
Aya ba bye bye. Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol Yetzirah, Li'et Nasa, B'chefzo kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra.
והוא אחד ואין שני,
Aya ba bye bye.
להמשילו להכבירה,
Aya ba bye bye.
בלי ראשית בלי תכלית,
Aya ba bye bye.
ולא העוז והמזרח,
Aya ba bye bye. Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol Yetzirah, Li'et Nasa, B'chefzo kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra. והוא אלי וחי גולי, Aya ba bye bye. וצורב לי ביצרה, Aya ba bye bye. והוא ניסי ומנץ לי, Aya ba bye bye. מנות כוסי ביום הקרא, Aya ba bye bye. Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol Yetzirah, Li'et Nasa, B'chefzo kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra. B'ya'ado av kidruchi, Aya ba bye bye.
בעת ישן והעירה,
Aya ba bye bye. ואמרוכי גבייתי, Aya ba bye bye.
אדוני לי ולא יירא,
Aya ba bye bye. Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol Yetzirah, Li'et Nasa, B'chefzo kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra. Adon Olam, B'chefzo kol.
Well, we nearly made it. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
The tune is based on a Yiddish folk song called Alle Brüder, All Our Brothers. So if you are trying to find this tune for Adon Olam, then do look up the Yiddish folk song Alle Brüder.
But when you sing it, always agree with each other whether you're going to do one repeat or not at all at the end. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you
Shabbat
so much
Shalom.
for being with us in congregation this morning. We're going to be going across to our Zoom room for Kiddush. We'll be coming back live to this moment in space as well in a few moments in time. Shabbat Shalom.